Hi guys. Oh wow, wow, wow. Well, so what time is it where you are? So here it's just exactly 5 p.m. and good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are joining this conversation from today. I am welcoming you specially to today's edition in my partnership series. And today I'm going to be discussing strategies for building relationships from first contact and then onward to productive collaborations, productive synergies. Why did I start this series? Something I've always done for many years is to hold entrepreneurs and guide them, especially African entrepreneurs, because I believe that the entrepreneurship space is a strategic space that can bet something new within the African climate. And so, this for me is the reason I've always been excited to come back over and again to have conversations around things that I believe that you and I can do that will make the difference. And I started the partnership series because over the years, acting as a legal advisor to a number of founders, advisor to investors, whether angel investors, venture capitalists, and a number of other people and institutions. I found that one of those areas where we struggle in business, now talking about the African story, one of those areas where we struggle in business is that space, the place of partnership. And that's why I thought it's important for us to begin to address this thing. And don't be shocked. Somehow it just looks like one of the reasons that a number of African startups struggle with partnership is because there's something that is embedded in our culture system that is being brought into business, into partnerships, which seems not to be connecting and making partnerships to work. And so, what we do on this conversation is to learn, is to relearn, is to unlearn, is to look at stories, examples of relationships, synergies, partnerships that have worked and what really connected, what made those partnerships to work. And so that's why I'm usually excited and coming on and over to have this conversation. It's a limited conversation, limited in the sense that this would of course soon go off the radar from my YouTube channel, but it's a privilege that I have the opportunity to always come over and again to have this conversation. So today's goal, I intend to teach you how to make a strong first impression that can lead to a lasting and successful partnership. A strong first impression that can lead to a lasting and successful partnership. Now, why is this so important to me? I found that many entrepreneurs have missed the opportunity for a productive collaboration, and that's because they were not aware of the things that I am about to teach you in today's edition, and which is the more reason I want you to pay rapt attention, because there are things that would make the difference in your journey as an entrepreneur, especially if you're an African entrepreneur seeking to make a difference and then come to that global space where you are leveraging on synergies and relationships to scale and advance and then expand that business. So this is very crucial, and this is why it's important for us to keep having this conversation. So I love telling stories, and then I would start with a story. Some years ago, I had that opportunity of having a conversation and then trying to introduce one of the entrepreneurs within my network who had actually requested for help, and then trying to introduce her to a prospective investor that could finance our business and finance what she does. And unfortunately, when the opportunity happened for both of them to have a first meeting, one thing I realized was that she was so focused on her own needs. focused heavily on the need for capital that she forgot to mention the great things that she was doing in business. And because of this, she lost a potential investor. Because of this, she lost that opportunity because I think it just got to the mind of the potential investor that most likely this person really needed my money. This person really does not need my involvement other than the money. Or better still, a sense of desperation or a wrong impression already, planted from that conversation in the mind of that investor. And because of that, the investor gave a no for an answer. And over the years, something I will tell you is that this lady learned from that experience, which is why I want you to also learn from the experience of this lady so that you do not need to make the same mistake. And guess what? Because of that situation, because of what happened, she lost a potential investor. But then she also learned a great lesson. And that lesson was to focus on her product instead of the needs. They are two different things. Focus on our product instead of the need. And so the first thing I want to share with you is the importance of focusing on the big picture that gives you excitement. Focusing on that big picture that makes you to be happy and full of energy every day. Just in case you are listening to me and your business is at a point where it looks like everything is lonely or you are in serious debt or something, the importance of focusing on the big picture instead of the fears and the worries of the debts and the loneliness of trying to pull through in that business that you are doing. And what are the questions you need to start asking? The first thing is to ask yourself, what is the story behind what you are doing? What is the story behind what you are doing? If you go about meeting people and acting a sucker, you can never get somebody to pay rapt attention to you. Otherwise, the best you would get will be people that would only be playing pity party with you and would never come to your aid to pull through on that project that you are doing. And this is very crucial for that which you are building. So, first thing is the importance of making sure that your conversation is an energy conversation. It's not a conversation that weighs down or depress the people around you. See, there's this thing that connects with people. It attracts, it's a force. If you end up playing that pity party, if you end up playing the victim card, you can only get people that will come by and then, just pity party with you and will never be there to help you. So you need to make sure that you get this lesson. And in the case of this lady, the moment she focused on that thing that gives her excitement, the moment she focused on her product and the things she's doing to make a difference, many investors started coming and became interested in what she was doing in business. And that was how she made a breakthrough in that business. So the lesson, a good first impression is always important for building productive collaborations. Is your first impression a pity party impression, or is an impression that is born out of excitement about what you are doing or the prospect of that which you are doing and what is going to make within the economy where you operate? This is something I need you to reflect on. And then the second point I want to share with you today is the importance of researching on people and institutions before you make a contact. The importance of researching on people and institutions before you make a contact. Now, this is most especially in case of entrepreneurs that are founders, and you're seeking for productive synergy or you're seeking for people to finance that vision. It's important that you research on people that you want to meet and research on institutions that you want to approach before you get into that space of making a first contact with them. This is very crucial. Now, I want to share something that is quite personal, and then I'll use it to drive home the point I'm trying to make in this conversation. One of those things with me is I avoid certain people because of our life differences, because of ideology differences. For example, and this is very minute, Those who often use vulgar language, I do not connect easily with them. And this might mean it's hard for me to work with them because there is a difference and their behavior does not align with my core values. And before you know it, it would also mean that the opportunity to have business synergy is lost in that context of it, because there is a fundamental difference that in our approach, right? And there are things that don't just align with us. So the lesson is simple. If you want to start a productive collaboration with someone or an organization, research to see if you share the same values and beliefs. If you do not connect, please don't jump into it, because you would end up struggling in that relationship. It will just be a struggle at the end of the day. And before you know it, you wake up in the morning. Imagine you starting a business. I'm having this conversation with you as an entrepreneur, a founder of a business. Imagine you started something out of excitement, but you were too quick to bring in somebody into it or an organization, such that on the journey you started seeing things that you did not patiently observe before jumping into that relationship. And then the same business that was giving you excitement every morning when you wake up, you're excited, full of energy, to resume on the business and all of that, that same business became the very reason for your pains, such that when you wake up in the morning, you're thinking, oh God, how am I going to face this situation, that situation? Because there were things you caused for yourself at the earliest point, when you should have taken your time to research on people and institutions to be sure that they connect with your core values. And please get me right here. Diversity is a different conversation. It's different from what I just explained. So, for instance, a whale is fundamentally different from other, other. So I don't want to say other fishes anyway, but it's fundamentally different from every other living thing within the sea. But it does not mean, right? Let me put it this way. Now, while the whale is fundamentally different from every other living organism inside of the sea, there are various species in the same ocean, right? But they all share that same habitat. The same ocean is what accommodates all these species. And the lesson is this: people can have different strengths, but you need to connect in your life ideologies, especially when it comes to business. You cannot afford to miss it on that conversation. So if you bring in a stranger into your environment, either you or them would have to go down. So if they are not taking you down, then you are the one that would have to take them down. So this is just something I need you to learn as a life ideology, to make sure that you are doing the right thing and you are bringing in the right people from the first contact to collaboration. It's important for you to understudy people and know those you are dealing with. And then the next point I'm going to be sharing, I title it the unspoken words that matters a lot, the unspoken words that matter a lot. Now, what do I mean by this? Why is this important? There was a time I once represented a founder who needed funds and was asked to sign an agreement requiring him to get the financiers approval for every expense from the office account before he can even spend any money. And I saw this as a red flag. For me, it was a clear sign of mistrust. And I knew it would eventually ruin that business. But guess what, guys? This founder thought it was about accountability, and that if his financier is asking for such, it means that there's going to be accountability. But this was the same thing that ruined that business at the end of the day. And the lesson is simple: the person that will harm the relationship would often show you the warning signs early on. You might mistake these signs for strengths instead of recognizing them as red flags. So it's important you don't see weaknesses and you adopt them as strengths. This person said this, or this organization has this clause in the agreement that they are giving to me. Oh, this thing would help me to overcome this my weakness or that my weakness. And at the end of the day, it's the same thing that will go and lead to the destruction of that business that you are, dutifully building as an entrepreneur. So this is very, very crucial. You need to learn to identify red flags very, very, very early in that relationship when you have the opportunity to meet with people. And then this takes me to my last point for today. My last point is this: you need to see the potential in people and you need to let them know it. You need to talk about it instead of hiding it from them. And you need to actually be genuine enough in trying to help them to achieve their goals. Partnerships I've seen over the years worked effectively are partnerships where the partners became selfless early enough instead of thinking that the other party is out for their own destruction, or the other party is looking forward to playing a fast one, making fast moves, outsmarting them. And these are pointers that lead to destruction of partnerships. And interestingly, just as I said earlier on, it's there are mindsets within the African space which we need to overcome, because those mindsets are ingrained. They are implanted in the way of life to a large extent. And this has become so much that sometimes we are not conscious of it, that it's a cultural thing. It's a cultural limitation that we are facing, and this limitation is being brought into the business space. So you'll find in a situation where ordinarily two people have come together and they're supposed to make things work, and they begin to think that the other person or the other partners could not be held for their own progress. And so because of that, there is now an element of mistrust. There's an element of interpreting things the way they choose to interpret it, which in most cases will be something that looks more like the other party or the other partners have a wrong reason for being on the lookout for them, or for suggestions, as it were. So these are things that we need to overcome within the African space when we are talking about partnership. And I want to leave you with a story. It's a story that connects so much. Remember, what I'm really talking about, what I'm trying to drive home, is the importance of seeing the potential in people around you and making sure that you are open enough to letting them know those potentials and being genuine enough to help them to achieve their goals. And just in case you are an investor, you are listening to this, look, these points I just made is especially important for you. And just in case you're playing a supportive role to the key person that founded that business, this is also very important for you. Now let me leave you with a story. It's the story of Michael Jordan and Nike, on the product that we now popularly know as Air Jordan. You see, when Nike was going to bring in Michael Jordan and sign him up on a partnership agreement, it was a difficult thing. Michael Jordan was actually compelled to go for that meeting by his parents because he never wanted to. He wanted to go with Adidas, and he wanted to be like every other person. But something interesting was from the foundation of that relationship. Nike was, I think they made a very smart move in making sure that it wasn't really about their brand alone. It was also about building an image out of Michael Jordan, and an image that represents something or someone he would have loved to represent himself as within the society, such that at the end of the day, when products were generated out of that synergy, those products came to represent the ideology that Michael Jordan stood for: hard work, success, tenacity, and name them. And so because of that, people wanted to get a pair of the Air Jordan canvas just because they wanted to be recognized, or they wanted to relate with something that connected. They wanted to have that feel of, what it looks like to have that ideology of Michael Jordan. And guess what Nike did again? They could have kept selling and overselling, but they made this business decision to make what they are producing to be limited edition. So limited edition in the context of, if we say we are producing XYZ number, we are producing XYZ number, and we are not going above it. And so that also became a marketing model, right? That changed everything around. And I think Nike was among those that first started this strategy. But guess what? This whole thing started because Nike actually demonstrated that genuineness in the relationship with Michael Jordan, in making sure that it wasn't really about them alone. It was also about the brand and the personality, the identity of Michael Jordan, who became the brand image for some of their products. And for me, this happened to be one of the greatest synergies that we now know of in the world of sports, as it were. And so, what is the lesson for you? If you're an investor or you're somebody that is, around a visionaire, it's important for you to make sure that you are genuine enough in understanding what connects for these people and really help them to achieve those goals. Because in achieving those goals, you will gradually be moving towards achieving your own goals of profitability as well. And I hope that, with all these points I've shared today, you have one or two things to pick that will make the difference for you on this journey of partnership as we continue to build and make sure that we are ready both within our mindset and within our heart for the great harvest that I see coming within the African space. My name is Eyitayo Ogunyemi, and thank you so much for joining today's conversation. Please remember to like it, remember to share with people, and remember to ask questions as well, and remember to subscribe to this channel. All right, have a wonderful day and have a wonderful week ahead. Bye.